I've been to Oahu at least a dozen times, probably more, and I still don't feel like I've had enough time there. There's always one more shave ice place I haven't tried, one more little boutique in Haleiwa I walked past and didn't go into, and one more beach on the windward side I kept meaning to get to but didn't have a chance. So when people ask me how many days they really need on Oahu, my first reaction is always more. Give yourself more. But that's not really an answer, is it? So today, I want to actually break this down for you because I know most of you aren't planning a 3-week trip to Hawaii. You've got a budget, you've got a certain number of vacation days, and you need to know what's actually enough. Welcome back to Hawaii Travel Made Easy. I'm Marcie, and today we're figuring out exactly how long you should spend on Oahu, whether it's your only island or one stop on a bigger trip. I'll walk you through what I've learned over 40-plus trips, what tends to go wrong when people underestimate their time there, and I'll share a client story that still makes me a little mad on her behalf. Start with the quick version, because I know some of you are listening to this in the car and just need the headline. If Oahu is the only island on your trip, I want you to aim for 7 to 10 days. If you're island hopping, 5 to 7 days on Oahu is a really solid amount. And if you're tight on time or budget, you can still have a great trip with 5 full days. I'll explain why I'm drawing this line there in a minute. People write Oahu off as just Waikiki and Pearl Harbor, especially if they're island hopping and treating it like a layover with a beach attached. But it's Hawaii's 3rd largest island, and there's so much packed into it. Pearl Harbor alone realistically eats up half a day once you factor in the memorial, the Battleship Missouri, the submarine, and the Aviation Museum. Diamond Head takes an hour and a half to 2 hours round trip, and now requires a reservation if you're not a Hawaii resident, booked up to 30 days out. Then there's Kualoa Ranch for the Jurassic Park valleys. And the whole North Shore really deserves its own full day as a road trip rather than a quick stop. Start at Dole Plantation, wander Haleiwa town for shopping and food, drive past Waimea Bay, and watch surfers at Sunset Beach or Pipeline, depending on the season. That's an entire day by itself, before you even get to the actual beach time, the actual relaxing, the actual reason most of us go to Hawaii in the first place. I mentioned episode 41 a while back, where I walked through how to plan an Oahu trip from scratch, and episode 115, where I laid out an Oahu itinerary that almost always works no matter who you're traveling with. If you haven't heard those, they pair really well with this episode because this one is more about figuring out your number of days, and those two get into what to actually do with them. So let me tell you about our last trip, because it's a pretty good real-world test case. We were back on Oahu in February, and this time we only gave ourselves 6 days before island hopping to another island. 6 days. And it worked. We hit a really good mix of attractions. We ate at a bunch of places I've been wanting to try. We did some fun activities. But here's the trade-off. We only made it to the beach once. 1 beach day in 6 days on an island surrounded by incredible beaches. If we had a 7th day, I don't think we would have added another attraction. I think we would have just stayed at the resort and laid by the pool the whole day and done nothing. Because by day 6, we needed it. Compare that to how we usually do Oahu, which is a split stay over 7 to 10 days. We'll do 4 or 5 nights in Waikiki, where we pack in the attractions and the food and the shopping, and then we move over to Ko Olina for 3 to 5 nights, where the whole vibe shifts into resort mode. Ko Olina has those 4 man-made lagoons that are perfect for calm swimming, and it's just so much more laid back than Waikiki. That split is the best version of an Oahu trip for us. You get the go-go-go energy early on, then you get to actually exhale before you fly home. If you've got time for it, I really can't recommend that structure enough. Now, I want to bring in something I read recently that I think is relevant here. The state's tourism office just put out their May numbers, and one thing stood out to me. Visitors are staying fewer days on average than they were last year, but they're spending more per day while they're here. So people are compressing their trips and then spending more to make the most of the time they do have. Flights are expensive, time off work is limited, and not everyone can swing a 10-day trip. I usually recommend 7 to 10 days because that's when Oahu really opens up for you. But I don't want that number to feel like a wall. 5 full days, meaning 5 days where you're not spending half of them flying in and out, is enough to have an amazing trip. You just have to be more intentional about what you skip. Which brings me to the story that still gets me a little worked up. I had a consultation client whose husband had planned their inter-island flights before she even called me. He told her Oahu was basically just Pearl Harbor, so he booked them 1 overnight there before moving on to the next island. 1 night. When we got on our call and she found out everything Oahu actually had, she was mad. First at him for making that call without really looking into it, and then at the situation itself, because by that point, it was too late to change the flights without paying a small fortune in fees. She wanted 3 full days when she saw what was possible. Kualoa Ranch, Waimea Valley, the Toa Luau on the North Shore, and none of that fits into an overnight. We did what we could with the time she had, but I could hear how much she wished she'd known sooner. That's the exact situation I want to help you avoid, and it's such a common one. People treat Oahu as an afterthought because they don't realize what's actually there. If you want a more recent read on what's actually worth prioritizing right now, go back and listen to episode 90, my honest Oahu trip report, where I got into what's still worth it for 2026 and what I'd skip. That one's a great companion to this if you're trying to figure out where to spend your limited days. So let me leave you with a rough shape for each length of trip. With 3 days, stay in Waikiki so you're not burning time driving. Hit Pearl Harbor one day, do a North Shore day the next, and use your 3rd day for Diamond Head in the morning and Kualoa Ranch or Windward Beach in the afternoon. With 5 days, you get to breathe a little. Add in a real Waikiki beach day and maybe Haleiwa Bay or a boat tour. With 7 to 10 days, that's when I'd seriously consider the split stay. Waikiki for the first half and Ko Olina or Turtle Bay on the North Shore for the second half. So you get both the sightseeing and the actual vacation part of your vacation. The right number of days for you depends on your budget, your travel style, and how much you actually want to see versus how much you want to just be in Hawaii. There's no wrong answer here, but I do want you walking away from this episode with a real number in mind instead of just winging it, because winging it is how you end up like my client with 1 overnight and a list of regrets. If you're staring at a calendar right now trying to figure out how many days you can actually pull off and what to do with them, that's exactly what my consultations are for. We get on a call and I ask you about your priorities and your budget, and we build out a plan for your days so you're not scrambling like my client was. You can find those at hawaiitravelwithkids.com under Hawaii Travel Consultant. And if you've already got your Oahu days locked in and you just want a second set of eyes to make sure you're using them well, I also offer a $50 itinerary audit where I go through what you've planned and flag anything that's going to eat up more time than you think, or anything great you might have missed. That one's at hawaiitravelwithkids.com under Hawaii Itinerary Review. And anytime I mention a resource like that on the show, remember you can find my full list of trusted tools and recommendations at hawaiitravelwithkids.com under Hawaii Resources. Okay, that's it for today. However many days you end up with on Oahu, I hope this helped you feel a little more confident about that number. Talk soon. Aloha.